Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This week, we're heading into what's being billed as the finale of Sister Wives Season 20. Now, whether this is the series finale or just the end of the season isn't totally clear, but it is the fourth and final part of the tell-all. And honestly, this whole tell-all has felt strange. It's been all over the map. Instead of walking us through what actually happened during the season, it's jumped from topic to topic, pulling out little pieces here and there. No real flow, no clear direction. In a lot of ways, it mirrors the season itself. Because if we're being honest, it felt like not much really happened at all. Recently, my Keltie appeared on Growing Up in Polygamy and shared a few interesting details. According to her, the show is expected to come back for at least one more season. But here's the catch. Over the past 6 months, filming has been very limited and very sporadic. That alone makes it sound like season 21 could very well be the last. She also mentioned that Janelle is expected to appear in the next season, though even that seems uncertain. From what my Keltie described, Janelle has been going back and forth emotionally. On one hand, she's clearly ready to move on. She wants out. She wants off camera. She wants to start the next chapter of her life. But on the other hand, there's a hard reality she can't ignore. The show is her main source of income. Yes, the family has dabbled in MLMs over the years, but those are unpredictable at best. Anyone familiar with MLMs knows you often have to spend a lot of money just to make a little. And with this family in particular, they tend to rotate through these ventures. One big push, then silence, then on to the next thing. Janelle hasn't been heavily promoting Plexus lately, and while she's now talking about life coaching, none of that offers the steady income the show does. So she's stuck in a tough spot. She may want to be done emotionally, but financially, walking away isn't so simple. And to make matters more complicated, most of the kids want nothing to do with the show anymore. That leaves very little left to film. At some point, TLC has to decide whether it's even worth continuing. And maybe we get season 21, but beyond that, it's hard to imagine. The truth is, a big reason people tuned in was the polygamy. And now that the marriages have unraveled and the women are moving on, that central premise is gone. What's left feels like forcing these women to stay tied to a show and a man they worked hard to leave behind. Now, looking ahead to Sunday's episode, Us Weekly released a clip. But oddly enough, it's not even loading properly on their site. There's an error, so you can't watch it directly. Still, details have come out, and they center on Robyn and the old catfishing situation involving Meri. From what we can gather, Robyn discusses how Meri was having conversations with the catfish. Conversations that somehow Robyn would hear about. Apparently, Meri was also confiding in Robyn privately, and that information ended up getting back to the catfish. On top of that, Robyn was reportedly going back to Kody and filling him in on what was happening. The unspoken message here is pretty clear. Robyn may have been deeply involved in the situation, possibly making it worse, while also reporting Meri to Kody. Whether intentional or not, it paints a picture of meddling, and this is where things get tense. Robyn seems to respond to criticism the same way every time, by doubling down. No apologies, no reflection, just firm denial. In the clip, host Suki asks her, "After everything that's happened, do you understand why Meri might distrust you?" Robyn's answer? A flat number. She insists she's always had Meri's back. No hesitation, no second guessing. That's all we really get from the clip that's circulating, but it was enough to spark a lot of reaction. Robyn appears genuinely upset by the suggestion that she played any role in the breakdown of trust. And Us Weekly has since quoted her repeating that same stance. And with that, we're heading into the final part of this tell-all. Questions still hanging in the air, emotions still raw, and a future for the show that feels more uncertain than ever. What Robyn says is this. She noticed Meri was having online conversations, talking about flowers, texting, music, some light flirting. And her reaction was concern. She says she thought, "This woman is struggling." And her response, at least according to Robyn, was to push Kody to step in. She claims she told him, "Get over there, talk to her, figure this out with her." Robyn insists that's exactly what she was doing the whole time. Then she gets frustrated. She says Meri now claims she can't trust her, and Robyn doesn't understand why. From Robyn's point of view, she had Meri's back completely. She feels wronged by the accusation. Meri, on the other hand, has said that Robyn actually made the catfishing situation worse by reporting everything to Kody. Meri has always maintained there was no affair. It was online conversation only. No physical relationship, no intention to leave, just words, connection, and attention during a lonely time. Robyn continues by explaining that she was watching the whole situation unfold and felt alarmed. She says she kept telling Kody not to come around her, to stay away, to go sleep in another room, and to work things out with Meri directly. Over and over, she emphasizes the same point. Meri was being taken advantage of. She repeats it again and again, almost like she wants to drill it into everyone's head. And here's where things get interesting. By saying all of this, Robyn is essentially admitting she knew this was not an affair. She's acknowledging that Meri wasn't cheating, that this was a setup, a fake situation, someone manipulating a woman who was already emotionally vulnerable. Robyn even says that even if she hadn't known it was catfishing, it was still clear to her that someone was exploiting Meri's emotional state. But then she goes a step further. Robyn recalls talking directly to Meri as well. She says she asked her, "What is this conversation you're having? Why are you talking to this person?" Robyn explains that she was communicating with both Meri and the person on the other end, being open, as she puts it, with everyone involved. Later, when Robyn becomes emotional talking to Suki, she says that if people, or if Meri, want to say Robyn did something wrong, that's fine with her. She says she's at peace because she knows her intentions were good. That statement alone says a lot. Now let me share something that's important to understand about polygamy, and especially about men like Kody. Control doesn't work unless there are messengers. Leaders like him maintain power by relying on others to report back. He needs people around him who will feed him information, keep him updated on what's happening when he's not present, and quietly tattle on one another. That's how dominance is maintained. In a setup like this, the wives become the eyes and ears. They're the ones telling him what another wife said, how another wife acted, what someone might be thinking but not saying directly to him. And this kind of dynamic only works because many of the women are deeply unhappy. The timing of the catfishing matters too. This happens right after Meri's legal divorce from Kody. Her child has left for college. She's an empty nester. She no longer feels like she belongs in the family. Her marriage is falling apart, and she's emotionally isolated. From the very first season, Meri admitted that if not for her child, she might have left Kody entirely. She was honest about the pain, the jealousy, and the idea that suffering was somehow required to earn happiness. On top of that, Meri was never truly liked by the other wives. She was the legal wife, the one with status and power. They smiled to her face for the cameras, but behind the scenes, they often ran straight to Kody with complaints. That environment makes real vulnerability impossible. When everyone is focused on survival, no one feels safe. Each wife is trying to protect herself, secure her position, and, whether they admit it or not, be the favorite. They may say there aren't favorites, but let's be real. In any relationship, especially one like this, attention matters. Feeling chosen matters. Feeling like you are the one he wants to spend time with matters. And honestly, who wouldn't feel a sense of validation from that? Who wouldn't enjoy being the one he prefers? That's just human nature. You can deny it all you want, but no one enters a plural marriage hoping to be ignored. At the heart of it, every one of these women wanted the same thing: to be the most adored, the most loved. And that is exactly what Kody thrived on. That need for admiration fed him. But once the family became large and well-known, something shifted. He could no longer control their access to the outside world the way he once did. And when that control slipped, it became even more important for him to have allies inside the family, Wives who would report back, pass along information, and keep him in the loop. For a long time, that role belonged to Meri. Kody relied on her to be the messenger, the one who would tell him what was going on. And he kept her hopeful just enough to keep her close. He dangled the possibility of reconciliation in front of her for years, even though he never intended to follow through. Why? Because keeping her in the family kept the money flowing, and much of that money flowed straight to him. Meri has even said that when she wasn't living with Kody and Flagstaff, Kody and Robyn demanded she open her financial records to prove she was giving them her fair share of the income she was earning on her own. Let that sink in for a moment. The audacity of that request alone says everything. This is why information matters so much in that family. Information is currency. Information equals loyalty. And loyalty is what Kody values above all else. The more willing someone is to do the dirty work, to gather details, to report conversations, to take his side, the more loyal they appear in his eyes. This dynamic existed long before Robyn came into the picture. That said, Robyn seems far more calculated than the others. But she wasn't alone. Janelle, too, played a role in passing along information. And in the upcoming episode, she's actually confronted about it. She admits that she told Kody things about Meri, things that were said in private. Janelle even recalls telling Meri that maybe she should just take the money and leave. Then she says she ended that professional relationship because it made her uncomfortable. And when asked if she told Kody about the conversations between Meri and her friend Jen, she admits she probably did. She wondered why she was distancing herself, why she was seeking someone else. And yes, she told him. And honestly, that's what drives me crazy about this whole thing. Jennifer Sullivan, is someone who has consistently wanted what's best for these women. She wants them happy. She wants them free. She wants them living lives that aren't controlled by a man like Kody. She exists in the world of polygamy, yes, but she's strong, thoughtful, and unapologetic about having an opinion. And apparently, that alone makes her dangerous. What bothers me is how women like Meri, or anyone with a voice, are framed as villains simply for thinking for themselves. Christine even said in a clip that Kody doesn't like women who have opinions. He doesn't like women who aren't yes people, women who are strong in their beliefs, their thoughts, and their feelings. And I need to say this plainly. I hate the way we label women who stand up for themselves as strong-willed, as if that's a flaw. Because what that really implies is that if you aren't strong-willed, you're easier to manipulate, easier to control, easier to steamroll. And that's exactly what systems like Kody's depend on. There's nothing extreme about Jen. She simply lives in the real world, where women are allowed to have opinions, voices, and independence, where they aren't expected to shrink themselves to keep a man comfortable. And here's the part that really doesn't add up. Christine has said that Janelle gave her the same advice, to get her finances in order before leaving so she could stand on her own 2 feet. That advice was praised in Christine's case. But when someone gave similar advice to Meri, suddenly it was framed as inappropriate or harmful. Even if Jen did tell Meri to take her money and leave, what's wrong with that? That's not manipulation. That's reality. In a community property state, Meri was legally entitled to her share. She was a wife. She shared assets. She had rights. Telling a friend what their legal rights are is not betrayal. It's honesty. And sometimes honesty is the most threatening thing of all. This whole thing reminds me of something that happened to me years ago. Janelle actually blocked me back then because I spoke out after something she said on the show. At the time, they were talking about Kyle Henderson's wife, Nicole, a woman who had been brutally abused by him, beaten, truly harmed. And on the show, instead of supporting her, they framed it as if she just walked away for no reason. They openly criticized her. Janelle even said, "I can't imagine ever leaving Kody and just giving up." That comment alone told me everything. I spoke up in defense of a domestic violence survivor, and for that, I was blocked. So when I hear these stories now, none of this surprises me. Now, let's talk about what Jen actually says happened. Jen has been very clear. She regrets not encouraging Meri to leave sooner, but she insists she never told her to take the money and run. And what's wild is that Jen says she never even heard this story until this year. Years later, suddenly it comes up. According to Jen, Kody sat Meri down and said something like, "I need to tell you something. Jen isn't good for you. This is what she did." And Meri was confused because Jen never said any of that to her. Jen asked the obvious question, why would she tell Janelle she said something she never said to Meri herself? Kody's response? Well, Janelle said that. She told me when it happened. And Jen is adamant it never happened. That conversation never took place. And this is where I feel compelled to add some context because I know something about that time period that matters. This was during the same season when the show focused on people leaving polygamy. Those episodes with former members, escaped kids, advocacy groups, and that panel discussion. Remember that? During that same period, Janelle reportedly told people off camera that once the show ended, Kody would be broke. That they'd all be broke. That he was spending money faster than it was coming in. She also allegedly told someone I trust deeply, someone whose word I do not question, that she was hiding money, putting it away quietly so she could leave when the time came. According to what I was told, Janelle was talking about leaving Kody as early as seasons 5 and 6. She was preparing financially. She was planning an exit, and again, this is alleged. I wasn't in the room. But the source who shared this with me is someone I trust completely. And here's the truth, as it was shared with me. Janelle, Christine, and Meri all wanted out. All three of them, for years. That part isn't speculation, it's reality. The same person who shared this information also said something else that really stuck with me. Of all the wives who were not the favorite, meaning not Robyn, the only one who was honest about what polygamy actually felt like was Meri. Period. Meri was the only one who openly admitted there was jealousy. She was the only one who said sharing a husband was painful. She acknowledged that it wasn't easy, that the sacrifices were real, and that the reason they endured it was faith, belief in heaven, belief in the doctrine. She wasn't protecting polygamy, she was telling the truth. And that truth is exactly why Meri became the scapegoat. By that point, Meri was essentially out of the family. She wasn't involved in daily life beyond filming. Her friends weren't in the polygamy world. They were in the real world. She was becoming more independent, more worldly, more thoughtful. Her views no longer lined up with the rigid, insular mindset of the family. And when someone starts thinking for themselves in a system like that, they become a threat. So they isolated her. They blamed her. They used her as the problem so no one else had to look too closely at the truth. What this really looks like to me is a fabricated story, one that was created to protect Janelle for whatever she was doing to stay in Kody's good graces, while once again placing the blame on Meri. And honestly, that's a pattern. Janelle has done this to Meri for years, making up stories, reporting on her, and helping paint her as the problem. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Janelle was easier for Kody to manipulate, easier to silence, easier to keep in line. She was willing to keep sweet, just like we see her doing again in this episode. And that, more than anything, proves why Meri had absolutely no reason to trust any of them. Not one. They all talked badly about her, on and off camera. They all participated in framing Meri as the abusive one, the difficult one, the problem wife. And that narrative stuck for years. Now, I want to share something important. A couple of weeks ago, one of my longtime sources, someone who was affiliated with this cult but is no longer involved, reached out to me. This person was especially upset about the way these women have been framing Meri as physically abusive. What they told me stopped me cold. They said, very plainly, every single one of them spanked their kids. Everyone. According to this source, corporal punishment was common in this culture. Meri spanked, Janelle spanked, Christine spanked, all of them did. That's the allegation, allegedly, and it matters. Now, let me be clear about where I stand. I don't support spanking. I don't believe in it. I think it's wrong. I think corporal punishment should be illegal. Full stop. But that doesn't change the point being made here. The point is this. It's dishonest to single out Meri as abusive when the behavior being described was part of the culture and practiced by all of them. According to this source, pretending Meri did something uniquely wrong, something different from the rest, was absurd. And acting like Kody himself wasn't also involved? Even more absurd. I've said this for years. Corporal punishment is part of this belief system. So for anyone to now rewrite history and make Meri the lone villain is unfair and misleading. What we're seeing now is Meri finally exposing the tattletales. She's pulling back the curtain on the women who tried to keep her in line. And you can see it. Robyn getting heated and defensive, Janelle openly admitting, "Yes, I told on Meri." So now I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Drop them in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and click that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.